President, these are the further directions of the court. In the course of issuing directions this morning, the 30th August 2022, on the hearing of the 2022 presidential election petitions, Council appearing for various parties made certain applications necessitating these further directions. Number one, request for additional time. The request for additional time by Council for the first, second, and the 9th respondents over and above the time allocated and issued earlier this morning is hereby declined. Direction number 2, representation of the IEBC. After the various petitions were filed and served on the IEBC, and the chairman of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, appointed counsel to represent him. The law firms went on record and filed their responses respectively. At the same time, the 4 commissioners, namely Juliana Sherere, Vice Chairperson, Francis Wandera, Justus Nyangaya, and Irene Masit, were named as respondents in various petitions individually, and they retained their respective counsel, and they filed their responses. On the 27th of August 2022, the firm of Issa and Company Advocates lodged a notice of appointment of advocates that is dated the 26th August 2022, purporting to act for the IEBC. At the pre-trial conference this morning, the issue of the legal representation arose. The IEBC, through the firm of Iseme Maema and Kamau Advocates, filed an application on the 29th of August 2022, seeking to strike out the notice of appointment and all pleadings by Issa and Company Advocates. The motion was supported by an affidavit filed and deposed to by Marjan Hussein Marjan, the Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the IEBC. We have now been called upon to give directions and to resolve the question of legal representation of the IEBC. We have considered the pleadings, the record, and the brief statements by counsel. It's our considered view that this court cannot deal with the issue or any dispute as to the legal representation of the IEBC as an institution in these petitions. It is not the business of the court to determine who represents the IEBC in whichever formation. There is an internal issue which must be resolved by the IEBC, its commissioners, and other internal organs. This court will not be drawn into this dispute in these circumstances. As a result, the application to strike out the notice of appointment and pleadings ignore what I've just read. We've considered these arguments, and as a result, we allow the application dated the 29th August 2022. That is to say, the notice of appointment filed by Issa and Company Advocates is struck out. The 4 commissioners are at liberty to deploy and utilize the services of Senior Counsel Paul Muite, and Isa Mansour, Advocate, if they deem it necessary in these proceedings. Direction number 3, pleadings filed out of time. As regards pleadings that were filed out of time for whatever reason, whether because the judiciary electronic filing system was down and or slow, or due to late service, we direct as follows. On account of the dictates of Article 48 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, in respect of access to justice and the national importance nature of the presidential election petition, we direct that all pleadings that were filed out of time, including those that were filed by 2 p.m. today, be and are hereby deemed to have been filed in time. The parties against whom such filings are made shall not respond to them by way of replies, but rather shall be at liberty to respond thereto by way of oral submissions during hearing. At all times, this court reserves the right during judgment, upon consideration of the issues therein raised and the relevant law, to expunge from the record pleadings that offend the procedures of the court or have the effect of mutating the original petitions. Number 4, scrutiny. We direct the Inspector General of Police, in liaison with the Registrar of this court, to provide adequate security during the exercise of scrutiny. Direction number 5, additional counsel. Excuse me. The number of counsel permitted in the courtroom beginning tomorrow remains as directed by this court this morning and shall be firmly enforced. Direction number 6, further affidavit. Learned counsel for the first respondent, the Honorable William Samoei Ruto, has informally applied for leave to respond to 2 affidavits presented by the Attorney General in petition number E007 of 2022. With effect from today,
the pretrial continues. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon once again. Yes, we apologize for the short delay. The further directions following this morning session, when a few issues were raised, the further directions will be given by the Honorable Deputy Chief Justice and Vice President of the Supreme Court, the Honorable Lady Justice Philomena Mwiru.
With your kind indulgence, Your Ladyship, the President, your Ladyships, and my Lords, my name is Amondi Kenneth. I do appear for Mr. Professor Wajakoya, that is a presidential aspirant in the contested presidential election, together with my...
Counsel, can you please take your seat? Can we read the directions first? With the issue, because Professor Wajakoya is not a petitioner, is not a party. Can you kindly take your seat?
Most obliged.
Thank you, Judge President. These are the further directions of the court. In the course of issuing directions this morning, the 30th August 2022, on the hearing of the 2022 presidential election petitions, counsel appearing for various parties made certain applications necessitating